Hello and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show, the only podcast in real estate investing that teaches what you need to know to find and flip deals right now. Wow. Break free the chains that are holding you back and join us on this episode with Jason Lucchese.
Hey, what's up? It's Jason Lucchese and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show. I am so excited that you are here with us today. I've got a good friend of mine. I've known him for years, but it's crazy. We have never met in person, but I feel like I know this guy really, really well. Mr. Jamel Gibbs. How are you doing, Jamel?
Hey, man. What's going on? How are you today?
I am doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. I just came from the gym. I usually hit the gym in the morning. Then I went to go see my massage therapist because I've been having some shoulder issues from bench pressing. Other than that, I'm doing good. She said to drink a lot of water. So,
that is true. That is true, man. I love seeing the deep tissue therapist at least 1 or 2 times a month. It helps out so much.
Oh yeah, man. It feels really good. And then I like to get adjusted with the chiropractor. I mean, you got to take care of your body. That's what it's all about, So, because if you don't take care of your body, you really can't do anything else. You got to take care of your health, right?
That is true, man. That is true. And you guys can see Jamel in the video right now. He's wearing a swole shirt, and he is pretty swole.
trying to be like you when I grow up, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like you. Oh man, so Jamel, for folks that don't know who you are, man, you've got an amazing training that you have for folks, and you're also in the trenches actually doing this business. So it's weird, right? You're actually a trainer and you're actually doing the business. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, that's not the norm in this business, but there's a lot of people out here who are actually doing what they say they do.
Absolutely.
Which is
Absolutely, man. So for folks that don't know who you are, can you share a little bit about yourself? How did you get started in the business and where are you at today?
Well, sure. I got an interesting story and I'll bore you with my little story. So, I started in the real estate business back in 2002. I'll give you the Cliff Note version. Is that okay?
There you go.
All right. So started back in the real estate business. Well, let me start a year before that. So back in 2000, 2000, I want to say I used to spot trade currency down on Wall Street. So I graduated high school in 99 and I went straight to Wall Street. I didn't enrolled in college, never went to college. Okay. And it was a community college. I wasn't smart enough to get into a university at that time. But long story short, I immediately got a job on Wall Street as a cold caller. That's kind of where I learned what it's going to take to build a real business.
Yep.
And how much hard work you have to put into a business in order to grow the business as well. So I'm forever grateful for that experience that I had down on Wall Street. But right around the 9/11 time, actually it was 9/11, the headquarters was located in the Second World Trade building. And once the building came down, all of the investors were pulling out their money.
Oh, geez.
The company went out of business. So within 2 weeks after 9/11, I didn't have a job anymore. I did become an account opener for the company. I was on my way to becoming a broker, and that's where I would have made a lot of money. Now, and think being 19 years old at that time, 20 years old, I saw guys my age making $5, $10, $15 million a year.
Oh, geez.
And these were guys who came from the same neighborhood. Well, not necessarily the same exact neighborhood, but the same type of neighborhood where I came from.
Yep.
They had the same story, and these are all guys from Brooklyn, New York, just like I am, who were making millions of dollars. And it really took my mind from where I was at the time. I grew up in the projects. It took me from that thinking level to a whole other stratosphere of thinking. And at the end of the day, it really expanded the way that I think,
Sure.
in the way that I thought about money and the possibilities of what can actually happen in my life. So I decided to give that a try. After 9/11, the company went out of business, unfortunately. So I put a year and a half into that company. Not a long time at all, but it was long for me because I used to spend 15, 16, 17-hour days. Sometimes I spent the night in the office.
Oh, geez.
Trying to make things happen for myself. I really didn't have much going on at that time. So
Right.
either I get in trouble or I stay in the office and get some work done. And I chose to stay in the office. But I learned work ethic, if anything. If I picked up anything from that experience, it was work ethic.
Sure.
Okay, and what it take to become successful. So I knew what it would take to become successful, and I saw the success on the other end as well from guys who've already done it.
Right.
All I had to do was follow the path, which is important. So if you want to be successful in anything, follow somebody who's already doing it, right? And then all you really have to do is copy and paste. If you copy and paste, then you'll go a long way. You don't want to ever try to reinvent the wheel. So shortly after 9/11, right around 2002, I was back in the barbershop trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up stumbling across real estate. Now, a friend of mine used to sell real estate in Brooklyn, New York as an agent.
Okay.
He introduced me to the agent side of the business. Shortly after, I want to say within 6 months, I was in the business, meeting up with a lot of guys who were making a lot of money in the business. And I used to see these checks come across, at these closing table, at these closings. And I would say to myself, how are these guys doing it? Long story short, they were investors.
Oh, okay.
$500,000 check that I saw come across my desk. I said, you know what? I got to switch up what I'm doing here. And then I started looking into what they were doing and got into real estate investing at that time. This is back in like 2002-ish era. So started investing. It took me a year to really figure out how to do it because I didn't understand the value of having a mentor until I got a little older. Yes, I did have people I was looking up to on Wall Street, but it wasn't the same. I didn't understand that they were actually mentors at the time.
Right.
So it took me a year of just grinding and trying to figure things out to really make a stamp in this business. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My first check didn't come from flipping a house, came from flipping a business. So there was a guy who wanted to sell a sandwich shop in Brooklyn. I told him I could sell it for him. I didn't understand how to contract and all of that stuff at that time, but I ended up having a friend who wanted to buy a sandwich shop.
Nice.
And I ended up making $1,500 on that transaction. And I said to myself, if I could do this with a business, I could probably do it with houses as well. And that kind of transitioned into houses for me. It took me a year after that to find someone to front some money because I didn't have any money at that time.
Right.
I found out who had the money and I started asking and they would turn me down every single time. And a year later, after all of the asking, I must have asked like 200 times. A year later, she finally said, okay, I'm going to give you a shot.
Nice.
So then I took her money and got into rehabbing. I'm talking 03, 04 era. So
that was a good time.
Yeah, really good time. I really learned the business while making money, which was a really good thing for me. But you could make any mistake in a book at that time and still make a whole bunch of money on a deal. So that was a good time for me to learn, right? So I borrowed the money from her. I'm not going to mention her name, but I borrowed the money from her.
Yep.
She told me, okay, this is how you're going to work the deal. She gave me a little bit of guidance. I took it and I did my first deal. And by the way, I met her through a local mentor of mine, who I didn't necessarily acknowledge him as a mentor at the time, but now looking back in hindsight, he was my first mentor named Steve.
Nice.
I went back and saw him over the summertime. This is back. What's this? This is November, is it?
Yep.
So back in July, I saw him. Same guy, still doing his thing. But he introduced me to, my first private money lender.
Oh, nice.
And then it took me a year of nurturing that relationship with her in order to make this happen. But long story short, at the end of the day, he after the introduction, I kind of took the information that he gave me and I really just had to put it to work. So it's like when you first start in real estate and you want to let's say wholesale houses, don't expect the mentor to do the work for you. You're gonna have to put in some work. It's not gonna come easy. The mentor is there to help you along the way, to prevent you from hitting roadblocks, but you're still gonna have to put in the work. I see too many people, and I'm in the mentoring business as well, right? Too many people come into this business expecting a push button type of system. It doesn't work that way. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. If it was that easy, everybody would be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is you have to put in work. In the very beginning is the hardest. I want to say the first 6 to 8 months, you're really gonna have to put in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yep.
But if you just give it a real shot and don't complain, stop crying about every little thing that doesn't happen. Stop with the complaining about the $97 products that you spent all of your money on. Listen, you can't start a business with $97. Okay, I don't care what the video says. I'm just here to be honest with you. You can't start a business with a 97. You can start a business with a $97 course. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can't start a business with $97. So expect to spend money after the $97 investment.
Yep. If
you go in here with the mentality that I'm going to spend $97 and next month I'm going to have 30 grand, you're kidding yourself. It's not going to happen. But I'm getting ahead of myself right now.
No, I like it, man. I like it because, we've had students in the past, they complain. They literally want us to go out there and do the deals for them. And all they have to do is collect a check. And I'm like, that's not the way this works. You have to put in the hard work.
Honestly, how can you, if that was the case, I'd buy every $97 course that ever existed. And I sit here and just collect checks, right? But the fact of the matter is, I got into rehabbing first, and then I accidentally stumbled upon wholesaling. I was getting so many rehab deals. I got to a point where I was hustling, man. I was just trying to buy anything and everything at that time. And I was getting so many leads in that I really couldn't afford to buy every single house. So I started looking for other guys who were buying. It's kind of funny because I didn't know they called it wholesaling.
Yeah.
I really stumbled upon it by accident. So I started seeing other guys and I said, what if I sell you my leads? And you give me $2,500 and I will make a $2,500 check just for the guy buying the house. And I said, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this is actually happening. So then around that time, I started seeing guys come out with these wholesale courses. And I'm like, what the heck is wholesaling? And we're talking 04, 05-ish.
Yep.
A lot of guys started coming out with information products. I guess the internet really paved the way, allowed guys like you and I, Jason, to really build our network.
Yep.
But a lot of guys at that time started coming out with these wholesale courses. And I remember there was one particular guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but one particular guy who he just blew the entire industry out of the water. I mean, you went from like a boring real estate course to like this guy driving around, and he really showed the lifestyle of living free on the internet through wholesaling real estate.
Right.
And I didn't buy the course, but I knew exactly what he was talking about, because I'm like, okay, I put 2 and 2 together. I said, okay, he's doing this. And when I read the sales page, I said, this is what I'm doing already.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I can actually put a product together like this as well. But jumping ahead of myself, got into wholesaling. You know, I started doing, 10 deals a month. At one point, I was doing more like 12 to 15 wholesale deals every month.
Yep.
And this was back in like 06, I want to say. And before that, I was probably doing like 8 to 10 rehabs a year, which was about what I wanted. I didn't really want to grow past that, only because I don't know if you've ever I'm sure you've rehabbed houses, but you guys listening, if you rehab houses, you understand what goes into rehab. It takes a lot, and it sucks your pockets dry if you're cash poor.
It sure does.
So that's why wholesaling really benefited me. If you can wholesale houses in between your rehabs, you'll do very well.
Yep.
But then around 2008, I got stuck with the properties. I got stuck with a couple of properties, actually. Fortunately, I was able to break even on some of them. One of them, I almost lost my shirt on. There was one house with a great buyer. He had a 750 credit score. I made a mistake and let him move into the house before the closing.
Oh no.
Yeah. And that was, you live and you learn, right? That's why you need to have a mentor, because you can learn from these experiences. A mentor can stop you from doing it. But long story short, I let him move into the house before the closing. I knew for sure he was going to close this house because he had great credit and a great job, great income. Long story short, he switched his job right before the closing. Switched his job.
Oh no.
So that just blew the whole loan. And long story short, 12 months later, I had to take a loss on the house. So I think it was like 25, 30 grand, which was a lot for me at that time. I was in my early 20s. Took a hit, and the private money lender that I was dealing with, I promised her. See, I could have went bankrupt and said, I'm not doing anything, but integrity is everything in this business, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Do what you say you're going to do all the time, even if it hurts. If you don't take anything away from this call, take that away. Do what you say you're going to do all the time, even if it hurts. Long story short, I keep saying that. This is a long story. But I ended up paying her back every single dime, and she respected me for that. Now, after that, she gave me access to a couple $1 million.
Nice.
Believe it or not.
Nice.
Just because I did what I said I was going to do. I took the hit, and I got the reward on the other end. I wasn't expecting anything from her, but she respects me until this day because of that. A lot of people would have walked away from that deal. So I ended up going under for a little while. I lost some money just on one bad deal. And it really hurt my business. So I had to rebuild my business.
Yep.
I went bankrupt, believe it or not. I had to, because I wanted to pay her back her funds.
Yep.
I kind of killed everything else. It was I had a bunch of credit cards at that time. Another thing, mid-20s, don't get any credit cards. Yeah, and save 10% if you can. This is one thing I wasn't doing, because for me, money was coming in like hand over fist. I would make 50,000. I'll spend 51,000.
Yeah.
Let's just say. All right. So smart thing to do, and what I know now after the fact, is save 10, maybe 15% of every single dime you make. And then once you build a nice cash pile up,
yep,
reinvest that money into some more real estate. grow that. What I would do, and you know, this really helped me get on my feet within 8 months. I would take 10% of everything I made, and I would turn around, and once I hit 20 grand, I'll take that 20 grand and I'll go back to the private money lender and I'll flip the money up. Okay, so when you're borrowing hard money, you're gonna have to pay some points and some closing costs up front. So you might spend 8 to 10 grand,
Right.
and then you need money to get the project started. So you might end up needing access to about 15 to 20 grand. So I would say save up 20 grand. Once you save that money up, all you need to do is start flipping that money and then never touch your seed capital. So that'll be your seed money, that 20 grand.
Yep.
It might take you 2 years. It might take you 5 years. But most people can do that. If you try to live below your means, okay, start now. Most people don't live below their means. Start living below your means now. Stop eating out for a little while. Start putting that money away. Take 10% of everything you have, 10% of everything you earn, and put it away. It might take you 2 years. It might take you 3 years, but it's going to change your life. It's worth it.
Yep.
Take that. Once you hit 20 grand, you can turn that 20 into 40. You can turn that 40 into 80. And before you know it, you have 100 grand of your own money. Most houses in the US, if you have access to $100,000, you won't have to go borrow any money from anybody else. So you take your $100,000, and if you flip that up 4 times throughout the year, and let's say your average profit is 25 grand on a house, on a rehab, let's just say, and that's on the low end, you can double your money within 12 months. Take your money, the seed money, the $100,000, and continue to flip with that, but take the profit and start buying yourself some rental properties.
Yeah.
You do that 2 times. So you're gonna have to flip, 40 houses over the course. So you can do that in 5 years. 40 houses, even if it took you 10 years, right? So 40 houses in 10 years. Most houses that you buy for 100 grand, they're gonna rent for $1,000. You take all of that income that you're receiving from the flips, put it in the rental properties, buying free and clear. Buy 10 houses. Before you know it, in 10 years, you can retire with $10,000 a month coming in that you never have to work for.
Yeah,
so that's just a little game plan. So I started following that game plan, and before you know it, I just told you last time we spoke, I'm on the verge of I'm on my way to, my goal is to hit 1,000 houses in the next 5 years, but you told me I could do it in 3. So
I did.
I am in a wholesale business nowadays. I still do that, still rehabbing. But that's how I got into that's my long story short version of the long story that I just gave.
Nice.
How I got the real estate business.
Nice. And dude, when you were getting started in the whole Wall Street thing, I know one of the things that you and I have talked about, especially with some of the folks that are on your team, one of the big components that you probably were able to take away from that is that you're able to, the cold calling is really big for you guys, right?
Yeah, cold calling. So in my business, we do a lot of direct mail. We do a lot of cold calling, and we started doing some Facebook ads as well.
Oh, okay.
So Facebook is really big. If you're not on Facebook now, you really need to be, because it really is changing the game for real estate investors. I will say this, looking back in hindsight, I wish I would have incorporated Facebook a long time ago. But now is really the perfect time to get in. And if you don't get in now, it's going to be too late. And the reason why I say that is because once everyone finds out how easy it is to get quality leads from Facebook, everybody's going, just like direct mail, it's oversaturated to a certain extent. I don't look at anything as being oversaturated, but as more and more new investors come in, what that's going to do is just drive up the price of the lead, right? Yep. So if you don't get in now and start establishing yourself, let's say on Facebook, while it's still relatively new, and when I say new, it's not new What I mean is a lot of investors don't really know how to use it properly.
Right.
I would say, get involved now, while and get your leads while it's cheap. With cold calling, on the other hand, that's probably one of the highest quality leads you're going to receive, but it's going to take some work to get that lead. Everyone doesn't want to work. Remember what I said, people want to buy a $97 course and push a button and make millions of dollars, and it just doesn't happen that way. So if you can do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, you'll benefit tremendously by using that model. So I would recommend do what's hard, because everyone else is going to try and do what's easy. So if you can follow that formula, you'll make a lot of money in this business. Cold calling is a big thing, man. Cold
calling's huge. And one of the things that we do is when we're doing direct mail, somebody may have just gotten a course and they're sending out direct mail. But one of the things that we do that's above and beyond is we take that list, we get it skip traced by our guy that we found on Upwork, and then we get phone numbers for every single person. Then we just start phone bombing them, and that's what separates us. Is I believe you and I spoke. It was a while ago, but one of the things you were telling me is like, we're just calling people too, and I'm like, oh man, I should be doing that too. So we started incorporating a lot of the cold calling, and it's helped out quite a bit. People are like, nobody's ever called us before, and we're the first person to call them. So I just don't see a lot of people doing that anymore, just because they do try and they want an easy button to push.
Yeah, you know what's so funny about that? I don't want to say it's funny, but you think about, let's use the concept of direct mail versus cold calling. Okay, so when you send a piece of direct mail, you're expecting a certain now think about it. Let's say you send out 1,000 postcards. You're expecting a small portion of those people to call you. Let's say 100. Let's say 10% of them will call you, right? If you have the right postcard, you can get those types of numbers, probably more. But you're expecting that type of person to call you back. So out of, 1,000, 10%, that leaves 90% of the people on the plate. Imagine if you picked up the phone and you called. It'll take the average person who knows what they're doing, it'll take them maybe 2-3 hours to call 100 people, right? And if you did that 5 days a week, how many people are you touching? 500, is that?
Yep.
500 people. So in 2 weeks, you can call 1,000 people. Imagine how many more leads you're going to receive if you were to just call the people versus waiting for 10% of them, or even, in most markets, probably going to be less, 50 people to call you back. You can pick up the phone and call these people. Like you say, most of these people are not receiving an actual phone call. They're receiving something in the mail.
Right.
They're getting tired of seeing postcards. They're not receiving those warm and friendly phone calls.
Exactly.
Asking them to sell their house. So that separates you from everyone else. Yes, it takes a little bit of work, but you don't have to do that yourself. In the beginning, you may want to do it yourself until you understand what it entails. But at the end of the day, you can hire somebody for $3 to $5 an hour. I pay my guys $8 an hour to call, and you don't have to have them call all day either. You can, if you can only afford $30 a day, pay somebody for 4 hours. So I'll pay you $32, pay you $8 an hour, or in your case, let's say you find somebody for $5 an hour. You can say, hey, call for 6 hours. I'll pay you $30 a day. There you go. You can find somebody on Upwork.com who can take care of that for you. And, get somebody in the Philippines who speaks really good English.
Yep.
Have some phone experience. And all you really need is 2 cold callers. You get 2 of them, and, you're calling, if they can average 50 people an hour, you're calling 100 people an hour.
Well, the cool thing that we use, Jamel, is we did test this quite a bit. Mojo Dialer has a triple line dialer and a single line dialer. And we noticed that we started getting a better contact ratio when using the single line dialer, because a lot of the people that pick up, they get that static message and then we never hear from them again. So we do the single line dialer. And if you're going about it the right way, we do the 5 minimum rings, and we're getting anywhere between 120 and 140 dials in within an hour. And we're making contact with 2 or 3 people within that hour period. And those are people that we're, putting numbers together. We're seeing if we can make an offer. And it just goes to show that cold calling is a really great way to go.
Yeah, man, I can definitely appreciate that. About a year ago, when I first started mentioning the cold calling thing, when we first started our conversation on this, I will say, for me, I've tried the triple line dollar, and I had the same experience that you had. At the end of the day, for me, the single line dollar, for me, number one, you just get a better answer rate with those.
Yeah. Yep.
And the way Mojo works, for those of you who don't know, you can have a triple line dollar or a single line dollar. If you're calling 3 people at one time, what it's going to do is as soon as someone picks up, it's going to hang up the other 2 lines. But then what if someone wanted to answer that line? It's going to hang up on them, and then you're going to have to call them back. I've had more success with the single line dollar myself. So
Yep. And it's a little bit cheaper too. And then if you have some folks from, like Jamel was saying, like maybe India or the Philippines, they just call in to a specific number. So if they have like a VoIP line or some sort of a number that they can use, they just call in, and they're using Mojo for the phone calling, not really their phone. So it works out really, really well. So I highly recommend it. And Jamel, we're getting to that point into the show. I always like to ask this question to our guests that are on. Do you have any business books or self-help books or entrepreneur books that you would recommend? Anything that you feel like has been game-changing to you within the last 6 months? Maybe just a book that's always stood out to you since you've gotten into the business.
Well, I'm on Audible. You can see that.
Nice.
I'm on my phone right now. One of my favorite books. I mean, I read a lot of books. You can see. I read a lot of books. Well, I don't read, but I listen to them in the gym.
No, I'm the same way. It's got to be Audible.
I'm an audio learner. I cannot sit and read a book. My favorite book, and I'm actually going through it again, is The Richest Man in Babylon.
That's a good one.
I absolutely love that book. And to follow that up, if you guys haven't read this book here, Sam Walton.
I haven't read. Oh, yeah. We just had somebody recommend that one.
That is such a fantastic book. I was really impressed. Sam Walton's Made in America, really, really good book. Like, mind-blowing book, in my opinion. But between that and The Richest Man in Babylon, those have to be some of my favorite books that I'm going through. This is a New York term, by the way, not for nothing. I really enjoyed Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits as well, man. That was a good one.
Oh, nice.
That was actually a really good one. Power of Broke.
By Damon John.
That was a good one. I mean, there's so many here that I can name. If I had to sum it down to one, maybe 2 books, I would pick The Richest Man in Babylon and Sam Walton's Made in America. I'm
gonna have to check that out. I haven't read listened to Sam Walton's book, so I'm gonna have to get that one. Next up on my list is I think somebody said the 5-second rule, so I'm gonna check that one out next.
5-second rule. I gotta check that out. And then you can go with the all-time classic. This is what got me started in real estate in the first place back in like 1998, 99. This is the first book I ever read, and I was in high school. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah,
always a good book. You have to have that in your arsenal.
Yeah, that's a staple. That and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh yeah, I have that here as well. That's another one. You know what's so funny about that book? I can never actually finish that book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here. Even when I'm listening to it, the guy who's reading it is so boring.
Yes, he is. He is. He is. I like the parts that Napoleon's talking though. Those are the best parts in that book. So Jamel, 2 questions here, man. How can people reach out to you? You've dropped a lot of knowledge bombs on this episode. How can people reach out to you? Number 2, do you have any parting words for our listeners that are listening to the show?
Sure. You know what? I'll give something away. This is kind of off the cuff, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't do a lot of video calls, so I'm like looking at you versus looking at them. But I'll give away. This is a good wholesaling tool. It really will help you if you're not, if you're cash poor, let's just say. But even if you're not cash poor, right? So this is a really good tool. It's called a flex option. I'm sure you know what it is, Jason. Yeah. Flex option agreement. I'll give it away. You guys can go to REI. Let's make something up. REI educationacademy.com /
You could do NFE if you want for no flipping excuses.
Even better. So REIeducationacademy.com / NFE.
Yep.
No flipping. I love that name too, man. No flipping. No flipping excuses.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we'll do REIeducationacademy.com / NFE. Okay, and then that'll send you to the flex option page. We'll get all of that set up for you. And parting words, one of my favorite sayings is take massive action in order to get massive results. Okay, so again, if you're just whether you're just coming into this business or you're trying to figure out how to get your first deal done, or you're in the business and you're not getting the results you want, it's simply due to a matter of action and not taking it. Or if you're successful, then obviously you're doing something right.
Yep.
Take massive action if you want massive results. If you expect someone else to do it for you, then you're not taking action. If you're expecting to make a whole lot of money with minimal effort, then you're not taking action. Take massive action if you want massive results, and take control of your own situation. Don't expect anyone else to get it done for you. That would be my parting words.
I like it, man. Thank you, Jamel, for being a guest on today's episode. Really appreciate you, my friend. And for those that are listening right now, if you have any questions whatsoever for us, you could feel free to go to support@jasonluchesi.com. Again, that's support@JasonLuchesi.com. Make sure you take Jamel up on his offer. It's completely free. It's an offer that gives you a flex option contract. And if you know anything about contracts, they could get expensive, especially if you have to pay attorneys to write all that special language for you. So thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. That is it. Go flip a house, and I'll see you on the next No Flipping Excuses episode. Take care. Bye.